everyone, welcome back to another Friday and another casual champion review, the calm before the storm. Next week, I get to play my most favorite champion in the entire game, Ivern, and this week I have to play Irelia, this fiend, this creature that I loathe. I hate this champion, and not just because, you know, her story and character kind of fine, but it's mainly gameplay. She's like Yone version 2 to me before, you know, Yone became super popular and I have to ban him every game now. You know what isn't popular? That's rude. The fan art section, there's not very many this time. Last I checked, I think it was like 2, maybe, which that's poetic considering, you know, you fellas don't care about Irelia either. Great minds think alike. But also, on top of that, Zazzle, member of my Discord, so has been going through and doing all the champions. I think they're at a Zir now. Oh, best of luck to them trying to get caught up. That's like 45 champions, but it's all amazing. Fellas who do the fan art section, you're awesome. I'm so excited for Ivern to see what you fellas come up with, but yeah, let's play this creature. Here we go. I think I'm fighting Kennen because apparently mage items are all the rage these days. So I don't know how this is going to go. I do not play Irelia. I've not played Irelia in literal years since the last time I played her. I think it probably was like a 1-for-all game or something. So I'm probably going to end this game 1-10. So Zan, Irelia, or Zon. Zan, Irelia, it's like Lukai Hui and Karajin, Ionia naming schemes. But Irelia was raised in Ionia and learned dancing at a very young age. And she in fact left to go study dancing at the Placidium of Navori. And she learned to dance there for a while, very proficient at her craft until rumors of a Noxian invasion. I also just realized how poetic this matchup is, that I'm fighting one of the leaders of the Kinku as the leader of the Navori. But rumors of Noxian invaders spread, and she realized, oh shoot, I gotta go back and help my homeland. Noxus is running in and taking over everything. And so she comes home and finds she's too late. Nox has already overtaken her entire village and slaughtered her entire family. Her grandma, mom, dad, all 4 of her siblings, all of them Dunzo dead. I'm gonna die for this can minion. And in fact, as she was approaching, she noticed that the Noxians were removing her family crest from her house and decided to step in and intervene because, God forbid, you know, your family died, but that table ornament is a bit too valuable. But in retaliation, the Noxians throw her to the ground, and the general decides to smash the crest to pieces, so it's all shattered all over the ground. But it awakens something in Irelia, and she starts being able to telekinetically move her blades about like I'm doing right now. Sweeping her arms around, using her dancing techniques, realizing that her techniques were actually much more than just simple dances. It's the ability to control the blades. And she starts cutting Noxians in half and eventually runs away, picking up all the little shatter pieces of her family's crest, and decides to join with the rest of the resistance who are trying to fight back this Noxian invasion. But she's horrified to discover, after joining these resistance fighters, not only has Noxus taken over her home village, but they've also taken over the Placidium. And this takeover was led by one General Jericho Swain. So this was before he took over Noxus. Oh dearie me. Oh no, I appear to have missed all my abilities. What shall I do? Kill him, cow. Yes, so Irelia decides to fight back. With her resistance, they charge forth and overtake, or I guess re-overtake. De-overtake? Words are complicated. Charging through, destroying all of Swain's soldiers, and cutting off his arm in the process. So now everyone in the Noxian army in Ionia knows who Irelia is, and everyone in Ionia knows who she is. And so she's kind of risen this position as a leader of sorts. The other Ionians look to her for guidance of what to do. A position she didn't really want to have, but she would hold that position for years on end. I think 3 to 4 years until she went back to her village and was able to retake it and kill the man who slaughtered their entire family. I don't remember his name because he died and it's not important. But in this aftermath of the Noxian invasion, now Ionia's divided. You have the Order of Shadow, the Kinku, the Vastaya trying to take back their own magic, and you have the Navori, which she is the leader of, though there is an offshoot of the Navori, the Brotherhood of Navori, which seeks more to militarize Ionia, to make the other nations fear their power, as opposed to being the peacekeepers they've kind of been known throughout to be out history. I really would probably form an allegiance with them, to be honest. Out of all of them, like, they are an offshoot of the Navori, but they still are Navori, and she doesn't really like champions like Karma or Ivern. She doesn't really like these pacifists, or the Kinku in general. So this is actually could have lore accurate again that I'm fighting Kennen. She doesn't like these peacekeepers, so to speak. She wants to take action to fight for their homeland. She doesn't think that if you don't fight for where you belong, then you don't belong there. And that's where she's kind of left off these days, just kind of doing what she does, fighting back Noxus. Kind of hammered home that Noxus and Demacia rivalry is not a real thing anymore. It was back in the olden lore, but nowadays it's more Noxus versus Ionia. It's kind of cool that she did inadvertently create Swain. By cutting off his arm, he managed to form the pact with Realm, made a new Noxus, so by her own actions, she made an even greater adversary. Speaking of, they have all these Nemesis mini-games now. Like, they have Nasus Renekton and Forced Rengar Kha'Zix again. Why isn't there one for Swain Irelia? They introduced one for Aurelion Sol and Smolder. Like, are those champions ever going to actually interact, or it's just like a fun minigame thing? Jax and Belveth? Shouldn't it have been Belveth and Kaisa? I feel like they should do more for actual champion rivalries. They did one for Morgana and Kayle and Aatrox, which is just for the cinematic. I've made a mistake. They did those pairings just for the cinematic, but isn't Aatrox and Pantheon supposed to be the rivalry? I mean, Xerath Azir would be kind of cool. Even you could do even Draven Darius just for the funny, because they're brotherly rivalry. She did have that whole debacle with Sentinels of Light as well. I don't know how much of that is canon. She had the whole rivalry between her and Riven, kind of not forgiving Riven for the mistakes she made, or mistakes, she committed war crimes, but not forgiving her for the war crimes she committed, understandably so. But Riven's trying to change as a person and go against Noxus, which they form a bit of an unlikely friendship over the course of Sentinels of Light. It's one of the more wholesome things about that dynamic, and they actually carried over into the Wild Rift comic, which a lot of the Sentinels didn't. So I don't know how much of that is canon. We know for certain Vayne, Olaf, and Graves were all Sentinels. I don't know about Irelia. So I guess moving on from her lore, we have her design, and I'm not the biggest fan of it. I think it works in some regards, but in other regards it's kind of befuddling. Goes against what the character's supposed to be, because she is supposed to be a telekinetic dancer. And I think there's a lot of things about her design that kind of contradict that idea. For one, it's obvious the armor. There's a problem with a lot of champions, though, where their armor kind of contradicts their movement. I am dead. The knee pads get me especially. Like, look at those things. What's weird about her knee pads? They're so goddamn spiky. Like, if she bends her knee just wrong, she's gonna stab herself in the knee. She's got spikes on her shoulders, on her chest, on her arms. She's gonna stab herself, which for a dancer, a character who's supposed to be super flexible all the time, why would you have armor that would actively stab you if you move the wrong way? I feel like that completely counteracts what her character's supposed to be. I think mainly it's used as a symbol kind of thing. If we look at Legend of Runeterra especially, all the other Blade dancers don't have these super fancy armor. Irelia has these streamers, these long fabrics on her, but they're only a small part of her design, whereas the rest of the Blade dancers, it's one of the most predominant things about them. So I think maybe the armor is used to signify that she is their leader, and not just the leader of them, but a leader of Ionia in general. I made a mistake. I'll come back from this. I mean, the one I think of the most is the Blossoming Blade. That one, oh, I really like her design, mainly just because it's nice colors, but the big flowing fabrics, the fact that she makes herself look like a giant flower almost. The flower petals are adorned with blades, so she's moving the petals around with the blades attached to them. It's just really cool. I like it a bit more than Current Irelia's stupid surfboard. But did I forget to mention that she was 14 when her story happened? I think I forgot to mention that. She was 14. She's been at war since she was a teenager. But there's no evidence of that at all. Like, she has no scars, no blemishes. You'd think someone who's been in war since their childhood would probably look a little worse for wear. Although that's a common thing with League champions. And I did, after watching the new cinematic, did kind of agree that it was kind of weird that no champions had any battle damage at all. Tryndamere had his eyes glowing red and a couple scars from before, but there was no battle damage from Wolf at all on his body. There was no blood. Yasuo swinging his sword, no damage being done. I guess he's siphoning their souls or whatever. Riot doesn't tend to like giving champions disfigurement, so they don't like blood. Especially look at Vladimir, look what they did to him in Wild Rift. They don't like blood, they don't like scars, they don't like visible body damage. They all need to be super clean and pristine, which, you know, not every character needs to have scars, even though scars are frankly badass. But for characters who have been a part of war, who have been fighting their whole lives, they probably should have some battle damage, you know? Although that's not the most befuddling thing about Irelia's design. To me, the weirdest thing about her is her face. That's not to say her face looks weird. It's to say her faces are very inconsistent. Irelia, I think, more than any other champion, has a different looking face in every single game she's in. Look at her face from Wild Rift to League to LOR to the cinematic. She looks different in every single incarnation she's in. It kind of stinks because the one in LOR and the one in cinematic are probably the ones that are closest to each other, and they make her look the most visually distinct. I feel like it's been a kind of a problem with a lot of female champions and even male champions nowadays, where a lot of the faces look nearly identical. I mean, just look at the new Lunar Guardian Kai'Sa skin in Wild Rift. I know I bring back to Kai'Sa all the time, but that thing, zoom in, how could you ever tell that's Kai'Sa? I couldn't. So at least the LOR version and the one from Awaken look more visually similar, and that's probably my favorite version of Irelia's face. Probably the LOR one the most, not the Sentinels of Light skin. That one's a little creepy. I also kind of wish her blades weren't as clean. It sounds kind of weird to say, but again, it goes back to the whole Riot doesn't like things being damaged or dirty or broken. They like super clean, pristine. And I get that they're supposed to be blades, but it's also supposed to be her family crest that was smashed to pieces. She sharpened them, make them even all throughout. It doesn't really make much sense to me. I like Riven's whole sword gimmick a bit more, where it feels like an actual broken blade. And actually, if she was wielding more broken fragments of her family's crest instead of these very nice, clean-looking swords is what they look like, I think that would actually make her tied to Riven and Sentinels of Light all the better, because they're both wielding broken fragments of their past. All right, now that I am 1-4, it's time to 1v5. I will win this day. Oh no, I can come back from this. It's another case of Legend of Runeterra. They just kind of done similar ideas better. I kind of like all of the blade dancers there better than Irelia. I just think they accomplished the aesthetic of the dancing telekinetic blade wielder better than she ever does, mostly because her armor is a bit of a mess. It's certainly better than the old version, though. For all the League Zoomers who don't know what old Irelia looked like, that one did not at all look like she was telekinetically wielding blades. That was a surfboard or something. She was holding it with her open palms. It looked like she was kind of levitating it, but she could have easily just been holding it. Old Irelia was, design-wise, not good. I do like old Irelia's gameplay a lot more. It felt much more fair to play against than this current one. The old one just had Gwen ult, basically, but also had the stun that only actually stunned if Irelia was lower health than their opponent, but also was point and click. She still had the same dashing mechanic where it goes zoop, zoop, zoop. Like, that's still the same thing. It just doesn't give you insane amounts of extra bonus damage and attack speed for no reason, because Irelia was released during the glorious year of Season 8. I'm dead. Season 8 was definitely a year of, I would consider, messy reworks, primarily because besides Nunu, every single rework released that year has been substantially changed in one way or another. You know, Swain got that mid-scope, Aatrox had his revive flat out removed, Akali has had 1 billion of her mechanics removed from her, and Irelia's kind of in a similar boat. Irelia's ult used to disarm people. As in, if you walked through Irelia's ult, not only were you slowed for a massive amount and had her Q reset on you, but you couldn't auto-attack back. So imagine being an AD carry, being slowed for 99%, getting a hyper-mobile hybrid tank assassin diving on you, and yet you can't even auto-attack back. Fun. To me, she definitely is just one of those absolute 200-year champions where I guarantee you the moment I start getting some items here and land that E, I am going to destroy these people. Maybe not that our whole team is 20-8, but you know, I can dream. Granted, I haven't played this champion in several years. I didn't expect to do very good, and clearly I'm not doing very good. And we'll see how I do later on. I imagine I'm going to be able to one-shot that ADC at some point or another. And just because I'm doing poorly right now doesn't change the fact that I still absolutely loathe this champion, and I hate fighting against her. She was my permaban for a while until Yone became much more popular. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing right now, and I'm probably still gonna be an absolute menace later on this game, but imagine, oh my god. See, if I was just, I nearly killed the AD carry. Was she fed? I mean, the fact that the AD carry, who was already kind of fed, had to use both summers to get away from a 2-6 Irelia in a 2v1 kind of speaks for itself, I think. Like, if this champion is terrifying on someone who doesn't know what they're doing, playing against someone who actually does play Irelia in the same way who someone who does play Akali is just miserable. To me, these are the kind of champions that are just so brutally unfun to play against because they're hyper mobile, can be incredibly tanky because of the items that they get, and do a ton of damage. They're just not fun to play against, which is going to sound kind of counterintuitive to my next point, but I think her gameplay actually suits her thematic fantasy really well. The idea of her telekinetically moving these blades all around, using her W to spin around, deflect bullets and stuff to block projectiles, using her dash, charging with the blades, like, it makes sense. She actually feels like a super zippy, damn it, you feel like you're doing a kind of dance, dashing around all over the place with specific targets. Thematically, her gameplay works really well. Now, does the champion being thematically... Oh, no. Now, see, if there weren't, like, 3 people bot lane and Zillion didn't have his ult, I'd probably kill that guy. And her animations are really, really solid, too. She has one of the smoothest animations, I think, in the entire game, with all her auto attacks, her dashing, even her flips and stuff. Like, visually... she's a treat to look at. It's really well animated. But we are also at this time now where pretty much all champions were really well animated. Which actually brings me to my next point, because I realized the the Alawi game from the other couple of weeks ago, I did not get to talk about her skins at all because the game was so short. But Mythmaker Irelia is definitely a subject of debate, for me anyway. It kind of raises a problem with modern legendary skins that they keep making these legendary skins for much newer champions, so as such it's hard to make more distinguished animations. Trying to make a legendary skin for someone like Blitzcrank or Ashe is really easy to make them look really nice because their animations are so old. With Irelia, I don't know how would you make Irelia's animations all that different without making just look like visual jargon. And so the legendary Mythmaker Irelia skin, to me, I forget it's a legendary all the time because her base animations are already so good that the legendary doesn't really improve anything. But apparently that is a very vocal minority opinion of mine because last year, apparently, she was the top best-selling skin in all of China. But I guess China does like their Lunar Revel stuff. Mythmaker Irelia is also a perfect example of them never getting her face right. Again, she just has no cohesiveness at all. If you zoom in on Mythmaker Irelia's face, could you tell that was her? I couldn't. I mean, it's not like Irelia hasn't already had a kind of a rocky history with skins. Sentinels of Light, again, just kind of a dud. Why would she give up her family crest for these random Sentinel weapons? I know it's to fight back the Ruination, but again, Riot kept giving champions Sentinel weapons who realistically would never want to give up the weapons they have. Ruination. There's the High Noon one, which is also kind of strap gun barrels to her swords, I guess. Project Irelia to me, I already am not overly fond of Project, mainly just because it's so much is just copy and paste. There's some select Project skins I like very much, but Irelia to me is the most un-Project skin of them all. It just looks like Irelia wearing a cool hoodie with kind of a tech jacket, tech pants. She doesn't look like a cyborg at all. There's also part of that Invictus Gaming thing. While the champions look exactly the same. Does it really have any good skins? Now I think about it, I mean, Divine Sword's kind of pretty. That one always gives me PTSD, though, because that is the champion, or that is the skin, rather, that when they first opened League Partner Program members got that skin for free at the start. So, that's just another reason for me to hate Irelia. But she got Aviator. Aviator's kind of fun. She's got the Catwoman skin. She's got a bunch of weirdo skins. I don't know how much longer this game's going to go out for, but surely... Oh my gosh, I'm bound to hit my 0-10 power spike because I will come back. I will come back from this. I guess final closing thoughts on Irelia, because I've talked about this character that I despise for long enough. I think her lore is easily the best part about her. I love that she has actual connections with other champions, with a lot of key players in Ionia, the Kinku, and Karma. She inadvertently created Swain, so we have a cool rivalry there of the Invader and the Defender. Visually, she is definitely an improvement upon the original, as I think pretty much all VGUs are. I can't think of any VGU where it was actually a downgrade from the old one. But I think her current design kind of hinders what her character's supposed to be. She looks too armored up, too sharp and spiky to be this flowering dancer. Like, she's supposed to be super flexible and movement based, but it looks like if she moved her arm the wrong way, she would stab herself in the sternum. In gameplay, this game is not evident of how strong she can really be because, again, I will admit she has a high skill ceiling. You can't just pick up Irelia and have immediate success, not in the beginning anyway. I'm kind of shocked this game's going on for as long as it is. I can come back from this. These hyper-mobile, bruisery assassins are so frustrating to fight. I don't mind fighting fed mages. That's why I don't mind this super mage oppressive meta, because mages, if you latch onto them, same with AD carries, if you latch onto them, they evaporate in an instant. At least when you catch them out, they're dead. With these kinds of characters, it doesn't matter. You catch them out, they miss all their abilities. Who cares? They'll just turn around and kill you anyway. It's just created a champion for me that I do not really like. I don't really like her design. I don't really like her gameplay. Her lore, I do enjoy quite a bit, but I'm never excited to see Irelia in anything. As much as I despise champions like Yasuo or Akali, I think is actually the best example. A lot of the Ionians I tend to despise playing against them because it's like a universal rule. We have to make the Ionians frustrating to play against. But if I see Akali in anything, I get a lot more excited because outside of gameplay, I really like Akali. I think she's got a fun personality, a fun design, fun lore. Irelia, she's got good lore, but again, she's not a kind of character I'd be super excited to see because she's kind of, oh my goodness. I'm not a game designer, so I can't pitch any kind of gameplay things. Definitely removing the disarm was a good idea. But in terms of where to take her character next, the weird thing is she's kind of tied to Noxus. Whatever Noxus does is how her story progresses. So much of her character is just trying to fight them back. I would like to see more of the struggles between her and Ionia. Her whole thing is trying to make Ionia stronger to be able to fight back Noxus. But Ionia is going through its own little civil war right now. I'd like to see how she deals with the Brotherhood of Navori or Zed Shadow Order, or her trifles with the Kinku or the Vastayan people. I want to see all that. I think that'd be interesting to see her tackle those things, especially because she is a leader who doesn't want to be a leader, but that's never explored at all, really. She has a couple voice lines here and there showing her self-doubts with herself, that she doesn't really believe she is worthy enough to take this position or doesn't want to take this position. Akali and Irelia are opposites in that regard, where Akali ran from her responsibilities to make a life for herself, whereas Irelia, steadfast, stuck to her responsibilities, even though she doesn't like it. Behold my 2 and 11 power spike. It's actually working. I have come out of this entire fight unscathed. Sorry, Weedwick. Unfortunately for you, I am Irelia. Dash! No! No! I mean, the fact that I'm actually this strong, this much of a menace, is kind of proof enough. This is the authentic Irelia experience. I inted my ass off for the entirety of this game. Died to my own laner solo multiple times. But I'm 2 and 11. Doesn't matter. The moment I get on that Kai'Sa, she's dead. Who cares? I'm Irelia, baby. There is no justice in this world. 3-11-7. That's the way I like to play Irelia, and never will again. That is a lie, because after I do Season 7, I have to do Season 8 Rewind, and that's when I have to play this character a lot more, so consider this a practice round. I guess I'm really not looking forward to playing more of this character. But you know what? The light at the end of the tunnel. I am done with Irelia for ages until I get to Season 8, but next week, I get to play my boy, my most favorite champion, Ivern, and I'm so excited for that. So thank you, fellas, for watching this casual champion review, and I'll see you on the next one, all right?